What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Miguel. You're watching Miguel EDC, the channel where we talk everything EDC gear here. And today we're going to be talking about this new QSP knife. This one is the QSP Otter, recently released along with another knife that you probably already seen in the channel as well. And that was the Walrus. My review on this one is up in the channel, ready to go. You can check it out next after this video. Both really good bangers from QSP. And this particular one is pretty interesting. It's a little bit shorter than the Walrus. And it does have 14C 28N steel. We're going to get into everything you need to know about this knife, the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything else in between. Of course, this knife will be linked down below in the description. So if you want to check it out, compare prices, or if you have made a decision that you want to purchase this knife, it does help out the channel if you purchase a knife through those links, but that is entirely up to you and at absolutely zero extra cost. With that in mind, let's get into it, right? So what do we have going on with the QSP Otter? Let's get an overall measurement on this bad boy here. We're looking at a total of about 6.5 inches overall length. Your blade is going to be around 2.75. Same deal for the cutting edge. And the handle is going to be a little bit over 3 3/4. So maybe like 3.8, 3.85. But those are your measurements. Let's of course do some size comparisons on this bad boy. Again, let me bring back the Walrus, QSP Walrus. That's again a bigger knife offering from QSP. Don't have any other QSP knives to show you, but I will show you the Vosteed Nightshade. This is the mini Nightshade. This one is also in 14C 28N. Right, check it out right there. A pretty comparable size if you ask me. By the way, review video on the Nightshade is coming up as well. So if you aren't yet subscribed to the channel, this will be a great time to do so. So you can stay up to date with all the upcoming new knives coming to the channel here. Next, we have the PM2 from Spyderco. We have the Para 3. So definitely the Para 3 is going to be the shortest one of the two, but the Otter is still smaller than both. What about the Demko AD 20.5? That's going to be bigger. The Shark Cub, which is a smaller brother to the AD 20.5, is still going to be a little bit bigger. So, guys, it's safe to say, the Otter is a little bit on the smaller side of things. Maybe pushing into medium category, but not quite. You guys be the judge right there, right, for yourself. The Sentinel Strike is going to be a much bigger knife. The Civivi Vision FG, take a look there, right, much bigger knife overall. And last but not least, the CJRB Pyrite and the Vosteed Raccoon. Both of these are going to be bigger as well, right? Very popular knives from last year, by the way. So if you haven't checked out the reviews on these, or if you don't quite yet own one of these, like, you're definitely missing out, because these are pretty solid for the money. Great budget knives, as well as the Civivi Vision FG and Sentinel Strike that you saw. Those are all really good. But all right, what is going on with this guy? Let's talk materials. We have a drop point, sort of like sheep's foot blade in a way, but we'll call it drop point blade, with a flat grind, coated in black, of course. And it is 14C 28N. That is printed on the blade there, by the way. And then you have the QSP logo, and that's about it for billboarding purposes. You have some jimping going on the blade there. As far as the handles, we have Jade G10, which is the natural color of G10, which it means that this is a white canvas for you to be able to dye it whatever color you want. We do have blue, like anodized blue, or otherwise bluish, purplish, kind of pretty neat looking blue, if you ask me. Hardware, pivot, the liners are proud. They are steel liners, of course. And we have two standoffs right here towards the back, which are also in that matching blue. Something I like about this knife is the whole contrast of the darker blue for the hardware, the liners and such, and sort of like the lighter Jade G10, right? Kind of comparing it to the G10 on Jade G10 on the Vision FG. Both are the same color, but this one kind of appears a little bit more on the bluer tone because the liners underneath are actually coated in that blue tone. So a little bit of that does reflect on the Jade, Jade G10 handles right there. But yeah, pretty interesting. We have a liner lock, right? So liner lock going on, good jimping to it and good access to it from the thumb side here, so you can easily push it out of the way and close it. Right, it's not a drop shot by any chance, so you just have to give it a little bit of a shake and it will close. I want to say we do have ball bearings on this one, right? So as it breaks in even more, the action should get even better. You do have a flipper tab, which is jimped, and that is your one deployment and one deployment option only. I will say, right, it does work really good, right? The jimping helps, right? The more pressure you put against the back of the handles here and you light switch it, the better that flip, the more satisfying that flip is going to be. I also found it really hard to fail it, right? So I'm going to try to do it as I guess you could. There you go. If you really intentionally wanted to fail it, but you could. But I mean, 99 times out of 100, you're probably going to end up deploying it just fine. Good detent, right? The detent is tuned pretty good for it being a flipper. Okay. And yeah, pretty solid action going on here. Again, standoffs here towards the back. You have your linear hole going on there. Pocket clip is reversible on this one, so check that out. Lefties rejoice. It's not the most deep pocket carry knife, right, for the people who really want their knives to be as deep carry as possible. But, you know, as a trade-off, you do get a section of a knife you can actually pinch and pull out of your pocket, so it gives you a little bit more real estate, right, to grip it this way and pull it out, as compared to trying to grip the sides instead with a full deep carry pocket clip would. So yeah, it's reversible, you know, decently deep pocket carry, not 100%, but it gets the job done. And I want to say they did a good job with the pocket clip here. So as I'm gripping the knife, I barely feel the pocket clip. Is not, I want to say it's not very long, also not very short, so it's a kind of a good size, I would say. And again, as I'm gripping on the knife, it feels like an 8.5 maybe, or maybe 8, you know. 7.5 to 8. So I will go with an average of an 8. Yeah, 8 out of 10 there, the harder I squeeze. Did we say that this was a small knife? Because it is, right? It is a small knife. I have average hands, so not the biggest of hands, not the smallest of hands. I'm still able to surprisingly get a full 4-finger grip on this knife, and you can see barely just a tad bit of handle left, if anything, but again, pretty much a full grip. That flipper tab is going to work as a finger guard right there. And, you know, you might want to be very, very careful. If you want a forward choke, there's no finger choil on this knife, and you'll be kind of doing it at your own risk. I would say you're probably better off safe back here and then just, you know, going to work slicing. This thing is really sharp, by the way. It cuts really good, super slicey, as you'll see later in the video during a very, very scientific cutting test that we'll do here in a moment. But yeah, ergonomically speaking, feels good, right? Again, that pocket clip is like an 8 out of 10. Some jimping up here, which allows you some control of the blade as you're cutting. The tip is actually not very high, so you could, if you wanted to, do some utility cuts, some draw cuts. We'll do a little pinch grip like this, right, and get some X-Acto knife type of cuts there with a very pokey tip going on right there, if you know what I mean. Good, easy to disengage, shake shutter, as you can see, and I got that deployment option with the flipper. So it carries pretty good, right? Very narrow. Let's do a carry profile. So thickness, again, something like the Para 3. The Para 3 is going to be a little bit thicker, but not by much. Something like a Demko AD 20.5 is actually a little bit narrower, if anything. And last but not least, the Civivi Vision FG is going to be a tad bit thicker. Let's get that let's get that Walrus out here. That Walrus was significantly thick. There you go, take a look. So it kind of complements a smaller design, if you ask me. Let's do blade stock thickness here on the blade is going to be 0.12. That's about the channel average, right? And 0.44 on the handle. So it's actually below the channel average, which is 0.5 or half an inch, okay? Length and height in the pocket, again, it's going to carry pretty narrow, right? If I wanted to compare it to maybe something like the Vosteed Chipmunk, right? Those two are going to look pretty similar, if anything. Here it is next to the new Vosteed Corgi Pup, which all are very narrow, very short in length. You know, of course, anything other than this, you know, like a Spyderco knife or anything like that, it's going to be much bigger, much crazier, longer, take a lot more room in the pocket for sure. So there you go. So that gives you an idea, right? Pretty slim, easy to carry, pretty lightweight too. So let's get a weight on this bad boy. No milling, right? And it sounds like they decided not to do any milling on this one, but honestly, no milling needed. If I'm being honest, so I'm reading under 2 ounces, maybe 2 ounces, but around there, a little bit lower, a little bit higher, but 2 ounces is my guess. And look at that, almost 2.5, but 2.4. So yeah, around that ballpark. So pretty lightweight, not heavy at all. That Walrus was 4.1 ounces, something like the Corgi Pup would be 2.8, so a little bit heavier. And the Vosteed Chipmunk is 2.6. Okay, so yeah, pretty lightweight, honestly. So if you're looking for a secondary blade, I found this one being pretty good for me as a secondary. I carried it in the 5th pocket. Obviously, I was carrying these two at the same time, so I used the Walrus as my primary knife. Obviously, it's a bigger knife. You have a longer cutting edge right there, and I used the smaller one in my fifth pocket as a secondary. And you know, there are times where you want to take out a smaller knife that is a less intimidating knife than maybe something much bigger like the Walrus. So again, really comes down to your personal preference, your carry style, if you would. But yeah, I found this one being pretty easy to carry, pretty light. And I'm not a light freak by any stretch of the imagination. I enjoy a lightweight knife as much as I enjoy a little bit of a heavier knife as well. Yeah, this one was pretty good. Let's do a hardware check on this knife really quick. Let me go ahead and close it. We have a captive pivot on one side, which is pretty good. I noticed they did that on the Walrus as well, so that's nice. So you only really need, let me get my T8 out here and confirm that it is indeed the T8. Last time I was doing T9 because it was in the wrong place. There it is, T8 in the pivot. And yeah, very similar to what we saw on the Walrus, because it is a budget knife. They do T6 everywhere else. So your pocket clips are going to be T6. Your body screws are going to be T6 also. Not a deal breaker by any stretch of the imagination. You guys know my stance. You know, just like any other knife guy out there, right? I'm sure you guys can agree. We all prefer T8s and above. But on a budget knife like this, if you get some T6s, right, not a big deal. What really bothers me a little bit more is, you know, on a premium knife and a more higher end scale knife, you know, you're still getting T6s and things like that. But on a budget knife, it's understandable. Of course, T8 is more preferable, not necessarily a deal breaker by any means. So let's go ahead and cut some paper here with this bad boy. Without further ado, very scientific testing here. Right. It is definitely going to cut very, very well. Yeah, very, very sharp 14C 28M blade, and bam. Yeah, this thing is going to do very well at all of your EDC tasks. That's for sure. So we know it can do paper all day, no issues. But what about some cardboard? I have some diaper box, single wall cardboard going on here, which we're going to test it with. Remember, when cutting cardboard, don't cut perpendicular like this, but rather at an angle. And it's going to look something like this. Here we go. Oop. I kind of came out of that first slice right there, right? Got to be mindful of the overall cutting length that you have. But there we go. Bam. There we go. Yeah, certainly a good cutter right there. Probably not the most comfortable cardboard cutter for a long period of time, but it can certainly cut a little bit of cardboard here and there. And check out that black coating. I just cut some cardboard, I wiped it off, and it is looking good as new. You guys be the judge there. Rate it on the scale from 1 through 10. How sharp is this guy out of the box? Other than that, the only other nitpick that I had about this knife, and it, again, comes down to personal preference. So let me be very clear with that, because for you, it might not be an issue at all, right? You're going to hear what I'm about to say and be like, look at this guy, you know, he's crazy. And that's fine, because again, you know, I'm different than you guys. You guys are different than me. We're all different individuals. But me personally, I prefer a knife that offers multiple deployment options, right? This one offers a flipper deployment and flipper deployment only, and that's fine. And that's functional. So let me just say that it doesn't take away from the functionality, even though it's one deployment option, right? It works really good, right? And it's not like there's anything wrong with it at all. It's just personally, I would have liked some other sort of deployment option here, maybe like a thumb stud, something to reverse flick with. Again, and maybe the design doesn't really call for that. The way the blade sits and things like that doesn't really make sense for other deployment options. But again, that's just my personal preference as a whole. To have 2 or more deployment options on a knife, that to me is what I personally prefer. Again, doesn't take any credit away from this one. And if you are okay with that one deployment option, then, you know, again, it works really good, very reliable, and it definitely works very, very well. So yeah, pretty nice budget knife right here, this one. So $42 on this one, right? $42, again, really good price. Again, you know, if you're working with a budget knife, again, I like the fact that this one is in 14C 28N, right? You get the black coating, which is optional. Some other models as well have different other finishes, like what do we have here? Stonewash, satin, right? And they do have the QSP Otter in other finishes as well, right? There's like carbon fiber handles with S35 VN if you're looking for a more premium knife overall. But yeah, honestly, if you're looking into a smaller EDC knife, if you're looking for a great secondary, right? And also if you're, shopping on a budget and you're sort of in that $40 to $50 range, right? Definitely one to consider. Again, pretty lightweight. This thing cuts really good, as you saw. And yeah, pretty great offering there from QSP. They just came out with a ton of different new knives for 2024. They are doing a really good job, really upgrading their lineup, coming up with new models as well. So definitely check out QSP if they're not already in your radar by now. But again, this guy will be linked down below if you want to check it out. If you made your decision, you want to go ahead and purchase one, that is, of course, completely up to you, but it is linked in the description. It does help out the channel when you use those links, but that is at no extra cost. And again, completely 100% up to you. That being said, guys, let me know if I missed anything on this knife. Really had a really good time carrying it, right? It definitely goes in the pocket and it's pretty lightweight enough to, you sort of forget that it is there, right? And, pretty good for gym shorts, right? In my experience, worked pretty good. And, it cuts really nice. And I like what they did here. So check it out, right? If you are considering buying your next budget knife or looking for a good secondary, again, can't recommend this one enough. It will be linked down below. Also, let me know in the comments, what do you want to know about this knife, right? What questions do you have? Anything that I missed? Anything in general. Let's hang out in the comments, guys. If you aren't yet subscribed to the channel, highly encourage you to subscribe, especially if you like knife and EDC content like this on an ongoing basis. I promise you it'll be worth coming back for more. Also, smash that like button on your way out. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm, get this video pushed out to a larger audience. If you want to support the channel a step further, you can check the link down in the description for Patreon, or you can simply help the channel, support the channel by becoming a member right here on YouTube. You'll get access to exclusive perks. But that's been it for me today, guys. Really hope you enjoyed this upload. Check out the review on the Walrus as well. Again, both offerings from QSP. Gotta check it out. Another one that's a banger is the QSP Variant, right? So I've been checking out these three sort of kind of at the same time, and honestly, they're both really good in their own right. So definitely QSP with some great offerings out there. Check them out. Guys, that's been all from me. If you made it to the end, I appreciate you. I love you. Thank you for your love and support. And I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll catch you on the next upload. Peace.